Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And just because somebody points out something about you that they don't like doesn't mean they hate you or that they don't love you as a human being. Okay? Just wanted to get that straight. So we need to get some clarity on this issue as well. This is a map of Africa. This does not do Africa justice because Africa is much bigger than map makers portray Africa to be. But for our purposes, this is what the map of Africa looks like. This is a map of the United States of America. We say that there are 48 states in the contiguous United States, and then there are 2 states, Alaska and Hawaii, that are not connected to the landmass. So this is what a map of the United States looks like. The black lines around these states are called borders, so that Texas and Oklahoma border each other, but each has their own independent government, but collectively we have a central government and that is our government in Washington, and we have a president, a Supreme Court, and a Congress, and they rule over the United States. So that makes us, so we have individual states and they have some power. But we have the United States, and the seat of our government is Washington, D.C., and their power supersedes the state's powers. So that is what makes us united. We are 54 states, but one nation, one president, one Supreme Court, and one United States Congress made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. We are governed by our Constitution and our 3 branches of government. The President, which is the executive branch, the Supreme Court, which is the judicial branch, and the Congress, which is the legislative branch. They each have equal powers, but they are the ruling powers of the United States. Okay? Did everybody get that? Again, this is the best map that I could find of Africa, but it does not do Africa justice. Unlike the United States of America, Africa is not united. They do not have a central government. There are 54 countries, 54 heads of states, 54 Supreme Courts, 54 parliaments or congresses or whatever they call them. So that is the major difference, and it's a major difference between the United States and Africa. The United States of America is not a continent. We are on the continent of North America. There are 23 countries on the continent of North America. The United States, Mexico, Canada, Central America, and the Caribbean. They are considered North America. But the United States is not a continent. Africa is a continent. Now let me point out a couple of things. First of all, in the United States of America, we teach the 7 continents, but we don't go into the countries. So we don't say, okay, Africa is a continent, and then we proceed to teach country by country and government by government and geography by geography. No, we don't do that. We teach the civilizations. We begin with Nile Valley civilization, and then we come on up to Western civilization. We don't go into things like the Ashanti Empire or Dahomey or the Malian Empire. We do a drive-by of any country in Africa that might have something to do with the transatlantic slave trade. We really do fly over, and we don't get deep into that because America has a narrative going about slavery. We were all on a farm, on a plantation. We were working together, and we were just like family. It was just like family. So we don't really like to go into the tragedy of what it really was. So we have to search out our own history, and we do a pretty good job of that. So back to Africa, it is indeed a continent and not a country. Similarly, it is not unusual for a Black American or a white American or anybody to look at a map of the United States, which we're familiar with, and then look at a map of Africa, which we're not familiar with, and assume that they're about the same. Now, Africans have really made an anthem out of telling Black Americans that Africa is a continent and not a country. All Americans need that lesson, by the way, because the others don't know the difference either. But let's stick with Black Americans. They tell you that as if that is a big deal. But Africa is a continent of 54 countries, and they all have the same problems, or about the same problems. 54 countries, over 1 billion people, same problems, and nobody has any solutions. Instead of working together to solve problems, they run or they fight against each other. So I went to the Microsoft Copilot and asked, what are some of the problems that African nations have in common? This is what it said. Africa is a diverse continent with a wide range of challenges, but some common issues affect many African countries. Number 1, climate change. Number 2, hunger and malnutrition. Number 3, healthcare. Number 4, peacekeeping and conflict resolution. And number 5, high debt levels. Now, these are just a few. So these are problems that all of the African countries are suffering with on some level, and yet they won't work together. While these issues affect many African countries, it's essential to recognize the continent's diversity and unique context. Each nation faces its own set of challenges shaped by historical, cultural, and economic factors. And we all know that, and we all appreciate that. And one thing is for certain, Africans and African descended people get the same treatment all over the world. What I don't understand is why they can't work together in Africa to solve some of those problems. And then they come to the United States and posture themselves against us as if we are their enemy. White people call you Africans. White people treat Africa and talk about it like it's a country. White people lead the narrative in the United States because they control the media. So they're the ones who have shaped you as a country in the first place and not as a continent with 54 countries. But you try to throw off on Black Americans, and that is why we have to have the conversation. And Africans need not waste their time coming into the comment section telling me what I'm saying is not true, because we have seen this over and over again. But I do believe that at one point, all of us believed in Pan-Africanism. We all believed that we should try to work together. Maybe that was naive. But in America, we're taught to have manners. And we're taught that when you go to somebody else's house, you treat them with respect. And that's the same thing when you go to somebody else's country. Some of these Black immigrants need to get a dictionary and need to look up the words manners and polite. And they need to read and study until you comprehend what those two words mean. And when you learn what those two words mean, pass the dictionary on to the Indians, because they don't have any manners either. Africa is a continent, not a country. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.